Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'll be teaching you how to cast on. The first step in casting on is the slip knot. Step 1 is to make a loop, like so. After you've made your loop, lay the yarn over the loop like this. Keep in mind that the tail of the yarn is crossing over the loop like this. Then push this bit of yarn through the loop without pulling the tail all the way through like this. Otherwise, you're just going to get this regular knot, which isn't going to help you at all. You're going to push this bit of the tail through the loop like so, and then while grabbing the tail and the rest of the yarn securely, pull the loop, the new loop, all the way through the old one. Ta-da! You've now made a slip knot. The reason why it's called a slip knot is because no matter how tightly you pull it, it won't lose its form and you can adjust the length perfectly. However, you can also just slip it out like this. So I'll repeat that one more time very slowly. And when you're done, thread a needle through it, pull tightly as you wish, and you have your first stitch. However, most projects aren't just one stitch, so you're going to have to cast on more, working with the rest of the yarn. There are two methods I learned about casting on, and they both have their advantages and disadvantages. The first one is pretty easy. You grab the yarn, and then with your right index finger, you make another loop, like this. And then you thread the yarn from below, like this, and pull. You've got a whole new stitch. It's really easy to make a lot of these new stitches very, very quickly, like so. While this method is very convenient, I find that knitting the first row is rather perilous. See here, I'm going to knit it like normal. And now it's time to slip off. However, if I don't carefully control myself, accidentally slip my hands, then we have all this extra space. I don't even know what it does, I don't know why it happens, and I really dislike it. It makes me really mad, and sometimes it keeps me up at night. I mean, look at this. Look at all this extra, I don't even know what that is. No one asked for it. And the thing is, if you keep knitting and knitting, it doesn't go away. You're just stuck with this awkward loop at the bottom of your work. I knit a few rows just to show you how perilous this is. Maybe if I try and stretch out the rows or just destroy my work, it looks a little bit smaller. The moment it snags on something, it's back. This is why I never recommend doing this method. Unless you're really, really impatient or you're making a bunch of stitches in a hurry and you just can't wait and you're totally okay with a sloppy bottom row, then fine, go ahead, do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, if you're making a project that's more than 4 stitches, which it will probably be, I don't know, say 132 stitches, and you have these all over the place on the first row, it's a pain in the, especially when you have to spend your entire first row carefully knitting everything. God forbid you sneeze or someone startle you or you get the hiccups or anything surprising at all, like life. This is why I prefer the second method. It seems a little bit slower at first, but once you get the hang of it, I think it works better. It's just the knit stitch over and over again. Alright, so I made the new stitch, and ordinarily we would be pulling the old stitch off, but no! we're not going to do that. We're going to take the new stitch from the new needle and return it to the old, like this. Wow! Wow! That was so cool. It was really easy. Wow, doesn't that look beautiful? I mean, look at the details. I think it's really cute too. See, on the other side it looks really good. And this side, I guess it looks just as good. Most of the time when I use this, I like to use this as the wrong side and this is the right side because I really like how this looks, this edge, see? And the best thing is, look what happens when I intentionally try to rip this work in half. See, nothing is happening to this edge. The border is still very nice. See, I am purposely channeling all of my anger into this piece, and nothing bad has happened yet. Now that I'm all done with the row, it's still normal. You can't even tell what stitch I tried to mess things up with. Now, a few rows later of the stockinette stitch, and once again, here is more proof as to why the second method is awesome. You see, as I said before, the back side of this method looks really good on the right side of a stockinette stitch. The front side, it's kind of bumpiness, looks really good with the wrong side. Whereas on the right side, see all these open loops? It seems to blend perfectly with the stockinette. Before we go, I'll give you one last parting gift. Tips on a really, really nice border. Now for the stockinette stitch, most of the time you're going to knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl every other row. But for the border stitches to create a nice edge, I like to slip the edge stitches. This information is widely available online, but I will be creating a slip stitch video later in the month. Here is an edge of a stockinette pattern in which I knit and purled the edge stitches. It looks good, I guess, but as you can see, it kind of looks a little bumpy and uneven. This is because you have to constantly switch between knitting and purling, and honestly, I find it just to look a little awkward. However, this is the side in which I slipped the stitches. As you can see, it blends really well with the rest of the fabric, although it does tend to make this stitch disappear. So if you're going to do this method, be sure to throw in 2 extra stitches on either side for it to be called the edge stitch. This is a term that you're going to see a lot in different patterns. Well, there you have it, how to cast on and how to make a perfect edge for a stockinette stitch. I hope you enjoyed.